Distinguished guests, graduates, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to extend to you all a very warm welcome to this morning's graduation ceremony. This is the sixth of 8 ceremonies to be held in Hobart this month. 3 ceremonies have already been held in Launceston and 5 in Hobart. Nearly 3,000 students will graduate at this year's ceremonies. At this morning's ceremony, we will be conferring degrees and diplomas in the Faculty of Science and Technology. We will also be conferring a doctorate in agricultural science and presenting a Teaching Excellence Award. It's a great pleasure to see so many parents, family and friends here this morning to celebrate the success of the graduates and diplomats. For many students, the support, both financial and moral, of their family is critical to their success. And it's therefore most appropriate that the graduation ceremony becomes a real family occasion to mark this important milestone in the graduates' lives. A number of significant developments have taken place over the last year within the Faculty of Science and Technology. A $7.7 million purpose-built Science and Technology building was opened on the Newman campus in September 1994. The building houses the Departments of Agriculture and Physical Sciences and contains first-class laboratories and technical facilities as well as office, teaching and lecture space. The new facilities will provide a great emphasis to teaching and research in agriculture and physical sciences at Launceston. From 1995, the faculty will offer 2 new postgraduate awards, a Doctor of Philosophy in Applied Computing in the Department of Applied Computing and Mathematics on the Newman campus, and a Master of Science in Exploration Geoscience in the Centre for Ore Deposit and Exploration Studies on the Sandy Bay campus. Major reviews of the Bachelor of Science and the Bachelor of Applied Science programs commenced in 1994 with a view to implementing recommendations arising from the reviews for the 1996 academic year. In 1994, the first students were enrolled in the Bachelor of Applied Science in Agriculture and Bachelor of Applied Science in Horticulture under the university's joint enrolment scheme with TAFE. This scheme, which is unique in Australia, assures the articulation of selected students enrolled in TAFE Associate Diplomas in Agriculture or Horticulture into the Bachelor of Applied Science program in these disciplines, with a full year's credit towards the University Award. A similar scheme is under consideration for implementation in applied computing. Now, before we proceed to the awarding of degrees and diplomas, we'll hear some music to be played by the University organist, Professor Rob Thompson, who will be playing the Little Fugue in G minor by Johann Sebastian Bach. Chair of the Academic Senate, Professor Jim Reid, to present candidates for admission to degrees and diplomas in the Faculty of Science and Technology.
I call upon candidates in the Faculty of Science and Technology to stand for the conferring of their degrees and diplomas. Mr Chancellor, I commend the candidates whose names are listed on the programme before you for admission to the degrees and diplomas shown.
By virtue of the authority vested in my office, I admit you and the candidates in absentia, as listed in the programme before me, to the degrees and diplomas for which you and they are qualified in the Faculty of Science and Technology.
Graduates and diplomats, please be seated. Mr Chancellor, the Academic Dean will now present the graduates and diplomats to you.
I call upon the Academic Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology, Dr. John Donaldson, to present graduates and diplomats in that faculty.
Mr Chancellor, I present the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Agricultural Science. Duncan James Farker. Susan Jane Haywood. David Seanan McCarrick. Bruce Ross Mounster. Mr Chancellor, I present the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Agricultural Science with honours. Michelle Margaret Connell. Penelope Sue Dominey. Mr Chancellor, I present the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Agricultural Science with first-class honours. Mark Jason Jackson. Elizabeth Ann Mann. Daniel Stephen Mendham. Mr Chancellor, I present to you the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science. Christopher Perry Large. David Robert Legge. Paul Damien Lewis. Suzanne Jane Lockhart. Eleanor Mary Lovehead. Lisa Elizabeth McLean. Christopher James Marks. Chris Kamyar Mazlumi. Claire Eleanor Ashton McKinney. Kylie Christina McKinnon. Moyan Mirab Kani. Gloria Denise Methos. Janine Tracy Millar. Stuart Alan Millen. David Robert Munster. Justin Alexander O'Brien. Ian Richard O'Callaghan. Sean Robert O'Rourke. Scott Frederick Pepper. Helga Ruth Purcell. Andrew Donald Pitt. Robert Joseph Poole. Kirsty Ann Presser. Diana Jean Pullen. Joanne Lisa Radcliffe. David Peter Rayner. Matthew Kevin Richmond. Marcus Vernon Rowell. Keith Ryan. Jennifer Ann Sheridan. Stephen Arnold Schott. Balyinder Kaur Sindhu. Stuart John Scabo. Stephen Peter Ormiston Smith. Francis David Spilsbury. John Loudon St Hill. Diane Damaris Sword. Gregory Michael Simmons. Robert Brooke Torrock. Martin John Alistair Tyson. Sophie Clementine Sorrell Underwood. Julie Alyssa Waddington. Paul Scott Whelan. Karina Marie Wiggins. Simon Trevor Wilcox. Graham Leslie Woods. Frances Rose Louise Exhiberas. Anthony Roy van den Enden. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science with honours. Caroline Michelle Field. Stephen Dirk Fritsch. Bradley Wayne Lara. Vaughan Terry Latimer. David Wayne Miles. Jonathan David Stewart Pugh. Dale Edward Quinn. Michael John Riss. Catherine Ann Stacey. Michelle Ann Vincent. Dennis Carl Vicenton. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science with first-class honours. Lee Edward John Arnold. Jennifer Narelle Clark. Alison Mary Featherstone. Corey David Griffiths. Henrietta Amelia Headland. Suzanne Jane Norwood. Andrew James Norman Routley. Julian Richard Russell. Christina Margaret Trambas. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science with first-class honours. The candidates have been awarded the University Medal, the highest academic award made to an undergraduate student. Philip Gavin Hodgson. Adam Ritz. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you the candidates whom you have admitted to the Graduate Diploma of Science. Vladimir Brucek. William Edmund Dixon. Susan Elizabeth Draskovic. Dante Romeo Gianna. Peter John Hancock. Florence Talbot Parker. Scott Andrew Smith. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you the candidates whom you have admitted to the Graduate Diploma of Science with honours. Joanne K. Dingle. Christopher Mark Lasdauskas. Marvin Errol Thrailkill. Mr. Chancellor, I present the candidate whom you have admitted to the degree of Master of Economic Geology, Gregory Bruce Edsworth. Mr. Chancellor, I present the candidate whom you have admitted to the degree of Master of Science Studies, Duo Lee. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Master of Science. Mirani Jane Barker. Barry Robinson.
Mr. Chancellor, you have admitted Jeremy James Austin to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Dr. Austin's thesis was titled Ecological and Evolutionary Genetics of Papyrus Species. Using advanced DNA methods, Dr. Austin studied three aspects of the genetics of the short-tailed shearwater or mutton bird. DNA fingerprinting, a technique usually associated with forensic science, was used to examine the pair fidelity of this supposedly monogamous bird. The results indicated that in at least 14% of cases, the female was fertilised by a bird other than her long-term mate. The second part of the study examined the genetic structuring of populations of the shearwater throughout southeastern and eastern Australia. Because of the well-documented phenomenon of the birds always returning to the same colony and even the same burrow each year to breed, it had been expected that colonies would be genetically distinct from each other. However, Dr. Austin's studies found no evidence of any genetic separation between 11 breeding colonies across southeastern Australia, and it was concluded that most of the present colonies must have been founded in the past few hundreds or thousands of years. Finally, Dr. Austin applied DNA sequencing techniques to compare the evolutionary relationships of the local shearwater with 18 other species from throughout the world. The DNA for this part of the study was recovered from single feathers collected by overseas scientists, often from remote island locations. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Jeremy James Austin. Mr. Chancellor, you have admitted Felix Norman Guazzoni to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Dr. Guazzoni's thesis was titled Catalytic Cracking of Hydrocarbon Feedstocks on HY-HZSM5 zeolite combinations. The catalytic cracking of hydrocarbon feedstocks over HY and HZSM5 zeolites, both in isolation and combination, was investigated. This technique has been shown to be successful in the production of high-octane rating gasolines without requiring the addition of lead-containing compounds. 3 pure hydrocarbon feedstocks, selected as representative of the types of molecules present in more complex industrial feedstocks, were used to model the reaction processes, which occur under cracking conditions at elevated temperatures in a fixed-bed reactor. Cracking of the model hydrocarbon feedstocks over the zeolites in isolation gave product distributions consistent with their pore geometries and relative acidities, and it is suggested that HZSM5 acted to inhibit secondary processes such as hydrogen transfer from occurring on the HY zeolite. The results from these model hydrocarbon studies were successfully translated to the reaction of a Gippsland reduced crude, a typical industrial feedstock. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Felix Norman Guazzoni. Mr. Chancellor, you have admitted Edward Alander King to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. In his thesis, titled Compact Structure in Southern Peak Spectrum Radio Sources, Dr. King studied 43 Southern Peak Spectrum radio sources at 2 frequencies using the 26-metre antenna at Mount Pleasant. He made a very precise series of measurements to monitor the intensity of these sources at intervals of about 3 weeks over a period of 2.5 years, and found that the incidence of variability was very low. This contrasts with similar studies of flat spectrum radio sources and suggests that the source of energy is different in these 2 classes of objects. Dr. King has made the first high-resolution images of these sources using the technique of very long baseline interferometry, or VLBI, in which an array of widely separated antennas observes each source simultaneously. These images show that the majority of sources in his sample are double and provide the first conclusive evidence of their nature. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Edward Alander King. Mr. Chancellor, you have admitted Gillian Mary Packham to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Dr. Packham's thesis was titled Studies on Myrtle Wilt. Notophagus cunninghamii, or myrtle, is the dominant tree species in many Tasmanian and Victorian cool temperate rainforest communities. The main cause of death of this tree in undisturbed stands is the disease myrtle wilt, caused by the fungal pathogen Chillara australis. Dr. Packham concluded that in Tasmania, myrtle mortality rates due to the disease are variable but not escalating, although logging, thinning and roading of myrtle-dominated rainforest may lead to an increase in myrtle wilt and to disease spread into adjacent forests. She found that root grafting between myrtles apparently plays a major role in the spread of myrtle wilt, predisposes stands to epidemics, and causes the clump pattern of infected trees that often result in large gaps in the forest canopy. However, if current levels of myrtle wilt continue, it is unlikely that the disease will lead to any permanent change in forest structure, since in undisturbed forest, myrtle wilt acts primarily as a mechanism facilitating stand rejuvenation. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Gillian Mary Packham. Mr. Chancellor, you have admitted Michael John Roach to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Dr. Roach's thesis was titled The Regional Geophysical Setting on Gold Mineralisation in North East Tasmania. regional gravity and magnetic data were used to assess the crustal structure of northeast Tasmania and the spatial relationship between subsurface granitic rocks and sites of known gold mineralisation. Two contrasting styles of mineralisation are apparent. In the Gladstone and the thinner Alberton areas, mineralisation is metamorphic in origin and probably unrelated to the grantoids. At Lyell and in the Golden Range area, there is a close spatial relationship between the mineralisation and granodioritic intrusions. Analysis of the regional magnetic and gravity data implies thin-skinned tectonics, with the lower Paleozoic rocks of eastern Tasmania thrust to the west over western Tasmanian sequences. The results of this study have important implications for gold exploration in northeast Tasmania and for the interpretation of the geological history of Tasmania. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Michael John Roach.
Mr. Chancellor, you have admitted Graydon Robert Johnson to the degree of Doctor of Agricultural Science, the first doctorate in agricultural science awarded by the University of Tasmania. The award is based on the submission of a number of scientific publications in a volume entitled A Collection of Papers Relating to Plant Virus Diseases of Importance in Tasmania. The preface to the volume describes the works in an industry context. Having commenced his undergraduate degree at the University of Tasmania in 1957, Graydon Johnson graduated with a bachelor's degree in agricultural science from the University of Melbourne in 1961. He began his career as a plant pathologist with the Tasmanian Department of Agriculture, studying virus diseases of fruit trees and hops, which led to the production of elite stock from which propagate superior trees and plants. A research scholarship with the University of Tasmania began his specialisation in the therapy of virus-infected plants by heat treatment and culminated in the award of Doctor of Philosophy in 1972. At the Department of Agriculture in Hobart, Graydon investigated and reported on virus disease problems affecting a wide range of agricultural and horticultural industries. His international reputation was established through collaborative research with colleagues in Australia, New Zealand, North America, the United Kingdom and continental Europe. Dr. Johnson has, over the past 10 years, written commissioned reviews on plant virus diseases of winter cereals and pasture legumes for publication in international journals and books. He, with his associates, has established a unique, nationally accredited plant pathogen testing service in the Department of Primary Industry, offering tests which assist Tasmanian and international agricultural and horticultural industries in improved management of plant disease. In 1982, Dr. Johnson was awarded a Churchill Fellowship, and in 1987 was elected a Fellow of the Australian Institute of Agricultural Science. Examiners of the thesis submitted for this award commend Dr. Johnson's strong commitment to science, innovation and Australian agriculture, his broad range of expertise and his genuine interest in the practical and applied aspects of his science. Mr. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Graydon Robert Johnson.
Chancellor, the University's Program of Teaching Excellence Awards was established by the University Council in 1991. This is the premier award given by the University to reward excellence in teaching and is one of a series of developments by the University to ensure that the teaching and learning environment in which University of Tasmania students undertake their studies continues to be enriched by the work of innovative and dedicated teachers, and by an unfailing commitment to making this university a distinguished centre of higher learning. Chancellor, I'm pleased to ask you to present a Teaching Excellence Award for 1994 to Dr. Leslie James Wood, a Senior Lecturer in the Department of Geography and Environmental Studies. Dr. Wood has worked at the University of Tasmania since 1974. In that time, he has been commended as an outstanding teacher, both for his consistent excellence in traditional methods of teaching and for his role in introducing teaching innovations. He has a reputation, supported by student and peer evaluation, as a lecturer who combines a rare and balanced mix of enthusiasm, both for his discipline and for teaching, with a command of subject matter and a deep understanding of the technological and human resources related to it. Dr. Wood has been at the forefront of teaching innovations in his department. He was the prime mover in the restructuring of the course and one of the first to recognise the potential of computer-aided learning. The results of his work in this area can be seen in the undergraduate unit, Geographical Information Systems. This unit was developed solely by Dr. Wood and deals with computer applications to spatial problems. He has also contributed to cross-disciplinary teaching, helping to develop high-quality units in geography in the Faculty of Education. The development of new units of this kind requires a dedication to monitoring developments in the discipline area and a willingness to undergo constant professional development in the use of related technology. Dr. Wood has managed both. He has also developed strong professional links with scholars in his field outside the university and contributed to the literature on teaching in his subject area. He has been responsible for the department's honours and first-year course for many years, and his administrative abilities in organising and coordinating the teaching program have been outstanding. Chancellor, in recognition of his outstanding excellence in teaching, I ask you to present Dr. Leslie James Wood with his award for teaching excellence.
The occasional address this morning will be given by Mr. Stephen Barker. Mr. Barker has a Bachelor of Engineering completed in 1976 and a postgraduate diploma in Geoscience, Mineral Economics completed in 1985. He commenced employment as an engineering assistant at the Metropolitan Water Board and then spent 3 years as a civil investigations engineer with the ATC. Mr. Barker was employed as an engineer with the Director of Energy before moving to the Premier's Department as a senior research officer. He then spent some time as First Assistant Secretary, Economics and Resources in the Premier's Department. Between 1985 and April 1993, Mr. Barker worked with Australian Newsprint Mills the last 5 years as General Manager of A&M Forest Management. In May 1993, he was appointed as Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Department of Primary Industry and Fisheries. This portfolio covers agriculture, sea fisheries and aquaculture, water resources and rural land management for Tasmania. The department employs approximately 650 people. He's made many changes over the last 2 years, including reorganisation of the departmental structure, development of a new strategic plan, establishment of a business improvement program, and the development of the first enterprise agreement in the Tasmanian State Service. I now invite
Mr Chancellor, distinguished academic staff, distinguished guests, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here, indeed an honour for me to be here this morning. For this is a day to celebrate great achievement. For the many graduates, it marks the end of 4 or more years of intense research and training and the start of many exciting professional careers. For the parents and partners of those graduates, it represents a very gratifying fulfilment of a goal or ambition to ensure that their son or daughter, husband or wife has attained professional standing and now has greatly improved prospects to go on to pursue a successful independent career and future. For the academic and administrative staff of the University of Tasmania, it is a day of immense satisfaction that they have so productively contributed to the economic and social well-being of society, especially here in Tasmania, through the facilitation and encouragement of academic achievement. For the graduates here today, I'm sure that many of you are breathing a sigh of relief. A sigh of relief that it's all over. No more lectures, no more late nights researching and completing assignments, and at long last, the prospect of some income and financial independence. On the downside, many of you, no doubt, are already missing the very special qualities of university life, particularly the social life, which I look back on with fond, but I must say not so clear memory. However, if you think your training and development is over, you are wrong. In almost every sphere of professional life these days, and especially in the areas of science and technology, the pace of advancement is such that continuous learning and retraining is a necessity. Many of you have already chosen specialist fields of endeavour. Many of you will go on to further specialise in your chosen fields and undoubtedly to pursue postgraduate studies at this or other universities. Others will benefit from training and development at your current or future place of employment. And this brings me on to the topic which I wish to briefly address today. That is the importance of sound management and development of people or human resources in today's business environment. Over the past 18 years that I've been in the workforce, and particularly in the last 10 years, there has been a growing realisation by more and more business enterprises that one of the most important ingredients to successful business, if not the most important, is the proper management and development of employees. In the 70s and early 80s, complacency and smugness was commonplace in Australian private and public sector institutions. We felt we knew it all. We were above the rest, and as a consequence, were very inward-looking. Many of our international partners and competitors made huge advances, whilst in Australia we became progressively more and more uncompetitive in so many areas. Our industrial relations record during this time was atrocious. Work practices and workplace rorts out of control, and management attitudes cultivated a them and us environment with rank and file employees. We had lost the plot in terms of what was important to business. Minds were focused on technology, finances and hardware. Staff were, in many instances, regarded as a necessary evil by management of many organisations. Innovation at the middle and lower levels of organisation was not encouraged. Indeed, many old-school managers felt threatened by the younger subordinates, who were often better trained and better skilled. People had become the forgotten resource. Little was spent on training and development, and as a consequence, organisations stagnated in their development and became slowly more uncompetitive and moribund. There was little upward mobility for staff, who subsequently became bored with their work, disillusioned as to why managers didn't fix things that obviously needed fixing, and cynical with inconsistency and the lack of sincerity of their management and boards. Whilst not the sole cause, these dreadful human resource management practices progressively resulted in Australian industry becoming uncompetitive and the gradual slippage of Australia's standing in international rankings on living standards, both in terms of income and other measures of quality of life, such as the provision of healthcare, law and order and education services. In the mid to late 80s, there emerged in the debate in Australia a call for a total rethink in the way human resources in the national workforce were managed. Many referred to this as industrial relations reform. In fact, it was far more than this. Industrial relations, in my view, deals only with the protocols which prevail between management and employees for the resolution of conflicts. That is, the treatment of the symptoms of bad human resource management. Industrial relations practice is, as such, often in the firefighting mode, dousing up rates of discontent which should not have occurred in the first place. This IR culture, this industrial relations culture, has resulted in the establishment of a huge infrastructure in Australia, often referred to as the IR Club. It comprises the expensive industrial relations commissions and tribunals, huge union organisations and business advocacy organisations, many of which have a vested interest in the maintenance of the status quo. Industrial reform, or more particularly sound human resource management, has therefore been impeded and made tortuously slow by this massive institutional resistance. There is no doubt an important role for these specialist organisations to play in bringing about better human resource management in Australian society. Unfortunately, however, many of those directly involved cannot see what this role is and the new opportunities it presents. Rather, it is an entrenched, no change, drag me kicking and screaming attitude. So what are the critical ingredients to successful human resource management? First, every manager or owner of any business enterprise, public or private, must recognise that the single most important asset in his or her business is its employees, its people. Today, no matter how good your technology, your location relative to market, your cost structure, or your other comparative advantages, if you do not attract, retain and develop your people to their full potential, your business will not be successful nor sustainable long term. Secondly, understand what motivates people to perform. This isn't hard. Whilst we all have different tastes and preferences, most of us respond well to praise, recognition and reward for good performance. In simple terms, treat your employees as you would have them treat you, with respect, fairness and openness. Thirdly, encourage, don't stifle, excellence and innovation. It is often the case that excellent ideas are developed at the coalface by staff who better understand customers' needs or how a business process can be improved. Immense job satisfaction comes to those who see their ideas put into action, which in turn encourages further innovation and improvement. It's contagious to other staff. If this can be combined with some measure of productivity gain sharing between staff and the organisation, better still. Fourthly, recognise the individual. So often in many businesses these days, there is what I call a lowest common denominator or one-size-fits-all approach. Individuals should all be given their own position description, which sets out what their roles and responsibilities are within the overall goals and strategy of your organisation's strategic plan. This should be done by devolving or cascading specific elements of the corporate plan down through each division or branch of the organisation. Key result areas and performance targets should be set and assessed every year. Fifthly, every employee should be given the opportunity every year to discuss their career path preferences with their supervisors. Where possible, further training and development should be encouraged and sponsored by the employer to overcome skills deficiencies or to promote strengths. At the end of the day, the business will benefit and grow with a better skilled, better trained and more productive workforce. Regular, open, two-way communication and consultation with employees is vital. Today, this takes many forms, but often involves staff at all levels in strategic planning and other business reform initiatives. Such involvement brings about a shared vision for where the organisation is going and greater ownership by employees of the strategies and reforms. Finally, don't forget occupational health and safety, a very topical issue at present given the debate on workers' compensation law reform. Whilst I fully support the need for such reform, most of the responsibility lays at the feet of management to ensure that comprehensive occupational health and safety measures are in place to avoid accidents or health problems arising in the first place. In my experience, huge gains can be made to the mutual benefit of both employees and the organisation. I'm pleased to say that many of these principles have been adopted by the private and some public sector organisations in Australia since the late 80s, and more are waking up to their benefits. Indeed, if you pick up the literature in on business best practice these days, it will invariably refer at length to such principles. I'm pleased to see that many Australian businesses have turned the corner once again to become world competitive, profitable, and are expanding with spin-off benefits to the rest of society in terms of lower unemployment and improved community services funding. So, much as many of you who have graduated here today will probably be hoping that the study was all over, I have to tell you that as we enter the next century, continuous learning and training will be essential in all facets of work life, as indeed it should be in organisations which recognise their most important asset, people. Good luck in your careers, and I thank you for listening.
On your behalf, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank Mr. Duncan very much indeed for that address, particularly for the way in which he recognised in such apt terms the full significance of this day for the graduates, their family and members of the staff. And also to thank him for his very thoughtful observations about the importance of not over-emphasising technological developments, the importance of rather realising human resources by proper management and development. And making the important point that goes far beyond the narrow field of industrial relations, but requires attention to quite specific areas relating to employees, which he so clearly spelled out. Mr. Duncan, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and thank you for the work and the thought that you obviously put into your address. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that now concludes these proceedings. I remind you that refreshments will be served in the upstairs refectory in the Union building